At one with the soil, part of the earth, indigenous Aotearoa, its language goes unheard.
More tragedy of that treaty. Pākehā New Zealand separating people from their words.
The Creativity in the Community course began around 2013 when I first arrived here at Massey. And at that time, our college was trying to encourage us to think about internship-style courses that would help students transfer their skills from the university setting into the real world. And our response to that request was to think about a course where students could apply some of the creative skills that they learn with us in the community. And this is what evolved. And the Creativity in the Community course is exactly that. It's trying to take students that have come through, they've done a little bit of writing, a little bit of film, media, and a little bit of theatre work. And then the idea is we go into a community context and they work with members on that community on participatory arts projects. So in the past, we've worked in partnerships with Aria Gardens, aged care facility, working on issues around positive aging or dementia. And this year, we were lucky enough to create this partnership with the Auckland City Mission and Hobson Street Theatre to work with members of Hobson Street Theatre Company and people who have had some kind of experience or exposure on the street, that street experience. Creativity in the Community as a course, I think, is transformational for students. It's really getting students out of their comfort zones and to think about applying the skills that they've learned, the creative skills that they learned, the knowledge, into a real life situation.
I've learnt what participatory arts is, how it works, seen it in action, which has been a real privilege. I've gained a lot of relationships and also learnt about a community that I wouldn't have really engaged with if I hadn't done this course. So yeah, I feel really lucky to have done that.
It's getting students to think about how they can engage with a community. So there's a sense of artistic practice or creativity being part of a sense of citizenship and developing the students' sense of identity, not just as someone who's going to university to get a degree and a paper, but that they have a responsibility, I guess, to apply some of the skills that they've learned and their knowledge in the wider community in a creative kind of context. So that's transformational, but it's also, I think, transformational for the communities that we work and engage with.
For our community, we like to be outwards facing as much as possible. It's too easy to get caught up in your own stuff. So, for instance, we've done a session up at Ngāwhā Prison. We stayed for a couple of days up there, not in the prison, but close to it. And that was great. So the opportunity to work with some students who were like-minded was great. It's wonderful to embrace community. Then on the other side, I think it is really good for students to interact with, see other points of view, just experience something a little different.
As we go through and they get to meet people and establish those connections and those relationships, you can see a transformation start to happen and a confidence start to emerge.
In the beginning, I felt like we were coming here and just getting 15 credits, and I asked the questions like, well, what are they getting ethically? Like, what are we giving to them to work with us? And then I think as I've gotten more along in the course, it's nothing about the credits. It's actually about the relationships that we've formed and how connected we are. And it's kind of not university to me. It's kind of just we come here and we work together and we create something. And that was how it impacted me. And just seeing the pride on their faces of how they felt. We didn't come here as experts to power over them. It was it's a process throughout this course. I feel like we're actually able to empower them rather than come in and say, oh, well, I'm a creative writer, let's write a poem. It was actually what do you want to do kind of thing. So I think that sense of pride is how this course affected me. I'm in the podcasting group, so we created a 2-episode podcast with 2 different members from the Hobson Street Theatre Company, and they are called Poetry Podcasts. So it goes through in the beginning of the podcast there's a host, and it kind of goes through a kōrero of something, an issue or a topic that's important to that person. So we covered addiction in the first one, and we covered the importance of te reo Māori within the education system in a second episode. So it's kind of just like using their strengths and their passions to form a conversation, and then after that conversation, the second part of the episode, we used poetry prompts, and from that kōrero and that poetry prompt thing, we were able to create a poem. So there's 3 parts to the episode. There's the kōrero, the prompts, and then at the end, each participant performed the poem that was co-created with the Massey University students.
It's very fulfilling to see students have come together right at the start. They've been really nervous, but then they've been able to work together to create something that they can be really proud of.
Yeah, so I think it's that sense of pride that we were able to empower them. Like, there was multiple conversations, and in both of them, in our first episode, Richard said, I didn't think that I could create a poem like this, but it was all his words and it was all his creation, and like, kind of just actually going through that process, he actually realised how he could create something so substantial. And also with the second episode with Belinda, she was like, I just feel so honoured that I could be a part of your degree, that she could contribute so much. And I think that sense of pride that was established on both sides, because I feel really proud to be able to like create those relationships and work with that as well.
Mama speaks Kikuyu, father Kiswahili. My heart weeps as I follow colonial rules, minimize myself, hold down my words.
My feet find a new home, yet colonialism lingers on. Dear Jacinda, your efforts do underwhelm me.
I first became involved with the Creativity in Communities sort of project, I suppose, through being the director of Hobson Street Theatre Company, or the sort of facilitator for the past few years. We've had quite a lot of different sort of companies or entities approach with the intention of wanting to do some sort of collaboration. In terms of being able to have a chance to do so with students, I think that's something that's quite new for the company. It's been really wonderful to see how the students have adapted and changed and really listened to what their environment gives them. The impact that I think the program's had on the guys that we work with, I think is, for the first time in a long time, they've been asked questions that they haven't been asked. For example, being sat in a room and just simply asked, what are some issues that mean something to you? That can be anything from traffic as a problem. I can't stand Auckland Transport. It can be anything from, I don't think the mental health services are that great, or I'm kind of a bit miffed that I didn't get much education. You know, it can be anything from that to, I don't really like how when I'm sitting in the street, someone looks at me and judges me. That's a bit lame. You know, it can be any of those things, but all of them are equally as relatable and real and valuable, and you know, as experiences, and as experiences to be able to draw from to create. Team music video.
Hey guys, thank you. Thank you all for coming. So I decided to do this course because I just wanted to have some connection, I guess, something that would be with a group of people. And looking at the description of this course, I thought looks like the sort of thing that you can meet people and create some good relationships. And also a big part is I've always been really interested in how arts can create positive change in the community, but I've never done anything to actually achieve that. So yeah, I decided that this looked like the perfect kind of opportunity, and it came up at the right time. But our project kind of came from a collaboration of the people and what we wanted to do. For me, I enjoy singing, and I kind of wanted to do something a little bit acting-wise as well, maybe. And then we had Easton in our group who was an amazing songwriter and loved to do that. And we had a couple of people who enjoyed photography, so we kind of put it all together and made a music video, which is where it came from. The process that we used, we started having a group discussion with students, members of the Hobson Street Theatre, and the support people as well, like Rand, our teacher, and Wilf and everyone. And we had a discussion about appearances and stories people had about getting judged on appearances or things that they'd seen on the street. And that conversation kind of got really deep, went into lots of different areas, and it was really cool. So from there we sort of transcribed that, brought that transcription to our next workshop and read it out, and from there did a process of workshopping lyrics from that. So everyone sort of wrote down ideas for sort of poems and that kind of thing. And then we as students brought all those bits of paper together and put lyrics to the song that Easton had written.
It's always been a desire and an interest of mine to have a dramatic expression available for our clients.
I think the most special thing would be meeting the people, just getting to feel their kind of energy and spirit, and yeah, that was really special, really cool. And getting to create something with a group of people is always such a cool thing to do.
They're just young people having a bit of fun and learning some stuff too. So that's not a bad space to be in.
I think there were lots of things that I learnt on the course that are useful to use in the future, like group work, working with a group. I guess the practical skills of like writing a song, editing a video, just getting sort of exposed to those as well.
And for a collaborative action to come out of that, hey, that's the icing on the cake.
The whole kaupapa, I guess, of the course is that we work ethically as a partnership in collaboration. And that, I think, in the end, if we've done it right, is transformational for the community. There's a real kind of sense of engagement and care and camaraderie and kindness. And I think that bubbles up when we finally deliver the successful project. You get a sense of that kind of pride, which I think is really powerful.
I would recommend that most people take this course, no matter sort of what you're doing, because in life, no matter what discipline you choose or what job, career you choose, we're always working within communities.
First tongue, mother tongue, Aotearoa tongue, a te aroha tongue, aroha te reo Māori.